John Hook's Newsmaker starts now.
Thanks for joining us on Newsmaker. A fast-moving object the size of Manhattan is hurtling towards our solar system, and it will make its closest pass to Earth on December 17th. Comet, asteroid, or something else? A Harvard astrophysicist believes there's a strong likelihood this is a craft of alien origin, and the implications, obviously, for humanity would be profound. Avi Loeb, professor at Harvard, joins me now. Great to see you. Thank you. And I've been reading with interest what you're putting out there. It's very provocative.
Well, you know, science is fun as long as you allow yourself to learn something new. And the problem with experts is that they insist on past knowledge that they promoted in echo chambers. And obviously anything in the sky, they argue, is a comet. But we should be open-minded because, you know, if we have a visitor from the cosmic street to our backyard, it may not be a rock. It could be a tennis ball thrown by a neighbor. So let's look at the data.
That is a very interesting analogy. All right, Dr. Loeb, it is called 3I/Atlas. Give me the best case for why you think this object may be extraterrestrial and maybe alien form.
Well, first, its brightness implies that if it represents reflection of sunlight from a solid object, it needs to be 20 kilometers in diameter. That's bigger than Manhattan Island. And this is a giant rock. The previous interstellar objects were hundreds of times smaller. So it just doesn't make sense that the third object from interstellar space will be 100 times bigger than the previous two. And we won't see anything in between. And moreover, there is not enough rocky material in interstellar space to deliver us a rock of this size, 20 kilometers, over a period of about a decade that we conducted the survey of the sky, because this material is very rare and you expect it once per maybe 10,000 years or longer. And so it's surprising if indeed it's a rock of that size. And you might say, okay, well, maybe it has nothing to do with the reservoir of rocks in interstellar space on random trajectory. Maybe this object was targeting the inner solar system. It had a goal to visit the inner solar system, in which case it's that the rocky reservoir is irrelevant. And if you look at the trajectory of this object, indeed, it's perfectly aligned with the plane of the planets around the sun. And
it's
within 5 degrees. And the chance of that happening at random is 1 in 500. And that allows this object to come very close to the inner planets. For example, it will come close to Mars, Venus, and Jupiter. And if you take the path of this object and just change randomly the arrival time, you find that there is a chance in 1 in 20,000 of it coming so close to 3 planets, as if this trajectory was fine-tuned. It was designed so that it will come close to a lot of planets along the path, and it actually moves opposite to the direction of motion of the planets around the sun. It's on a retrograde orbit, and that would be ideal if this object wanted to maneuver or release mini probes that will visit the planets. Now, it will actually get closest to the sun on October 29th. 2025, and that's when the Earth would be on the opposite side. It's as if it tries to avoid us. We won't be able to observe it. But it also comes from a direction in the sky that is crowded with lots of stars. It was difficult to see it until July 1st, 2025. And so the fundamental question is, was this designed by intelligence out there? And my argument is that we should collect as much data as possible to figure it out. And I defined a new scale that is now called the Loeb scale after my last name, where 0 implies a purely natural object like a comet or an asteroid, and 10 is a definitely technological object that maneuvers, broadcasts a signal, or transmits some artificial lights. And I rank this object, 3I Atlas, as 4 on the scale between 0 and 10. And of course, the more data we have, the clearer it will become. As it comes closer to the sun, it should erupt, it should outgas and produce a beautiful cometary tail. If it is a comet, we don't see a cometary tail as of now. The Hubble Space Telescope took a very high-resolution image of it, and all we see is some glow surrounding it that is actually preceding it towards the direction of the sun, but nothing behind it the way we see cometary tails, which are pushed away from the sun.
So it's got a unique,
it's
got a unique signature that doesn't imply comet. And as you know, NASA is saying this is a comet. It poses no threat to Earth and will remain at a distance of at least 1.6 astronomical units. That's about 150 million miles. But as we know, NASA's been wrong before. They thought they had discovered a new asteroid, which turned out to be Elon Musk's Roadster, the Tesla Roadster that had been launched. So they've been wrong before.
Oh, yeah. I mean, science is full of mistakes, and scientists in the mainstream of science that are considered experts often invest billions of dollars to check a hypothesis that turns out to be wrong. Some examples include, for example, a new symmetry of nature, supersymmetry, that was thought to be definitely out there, and then the Large Hadron Collider was constructed at a cost of $10 billion and didn't find any evidence for it in its natural range of parameters. That was embraced for decades by theoretical physicists.
Yes.
And there are many such examples that I can bring, but the point is that science is not decided by authority, it's decided by evidence. And the problem with experts is that they often use echo chambers that represent their past knowledge, and by doing that, they do not allow something surprising to be discovered.
Yeah.
If you insist that so, for example, there was...
It's arrogance.
I think in science we should have some sense of humility, because nobody expected, for example, quantum mechanics to be discovered. It was completely surprising. We still don't understand it a century later. And Albert Einstein had a difficult time interpreting it. And this is just to show you that very often nature is more imaginative than we are. And of course, for us to argue that we are the most intelligent species that ever existed since the Big Bang is indeed arrogant, because there are 100 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy, and probably billions of Earth-Sun analogs.
Yes.
And this is just like seeing a lot of houses on your street that looks just like yours, and you insist that they have no residents in them.
No, and my contention has always been, we say, well, nothing could travel that fast. Nothing could reach us because it's too far away. Well, let's put a civilization that's been around 1 billion more years than us. Where would they be in technology? So I think it's just complete arrogance and ignorance to think that we've got all the answers. I think it's just arrogant.
Well, also, the sun is 4.6 billion years old, and the age of the universe is 13.8 billion years. And so that's 3 times longer. So the sun was around only for the last 1/3 of cosmic history.
Yeah.
Most of the stars formed billions of years before the sun. And if a civilization like ours emerged next to them, you can ask, how long will it take Voyager, the spacecraft that we launched out of the solar system, how long will it take it to reach the opposite side of the Milky Way? It's less than 1 billion years. And therefore, they had plenty of time, those cosmic neighbors that we have, plenty of time to reach our backyard.
Yeah. Let me ask you about a couple of things. Does this have any steering mechanism that you think, are you seeing it go off a straight line at all? Or is there any detection that it is being steered?
That's an excellent question. So far, no data was reported about the trajectory and how close it is to what we expect from gravity alone. The data will get better as it comes closer, but eventually, yes, this is considered to be non-gravitational acceleration, a subject that could reveal the existence of a propulsion system or some engine to the object. That will definitely be a technological signature.
Is it traveling faster than what we would expect? I think, 41 miles per second Is that faster than what
Yes.
we can do? Or is it traveling in a way that makes it look unusual?
Well, it's twice as fast as the fastest rockets that we ever launched. And it's much faster, twice as fast as the previous interstellar objects. It could be produced by natural processes such as speed. It's not overwhelming, but you have also to realize that an object moving much faster than that would never be noticed by astronomers because we would just have one frame of it and we wouldn't really know how fast it's moving.
Oh, that's interesting.
Astronomers are using telescopes to look for objects moving roughly at the speed of planets around the sun, and this one is twice as fast as the speed of the Earth around the sun.
That suggests that it wants to be noticed.
Well, maybe it's one of those reasons that it visits the inner solar system, but we will not know until it comes closer and gets brighter, and applying heat to it from sunlight would reveal us the identity of this object.
When do you think, Doctor, when do you think we would get an answer? It looks like it's going to pass closest to Earth in late December, but we're going to get a good pass at Mars. Do you think we're going to have an answer, say, within a month as to what the origin of this is? Maybe not the origin, but what it is.
Yeah, that's my hope. That by collecting more data, it will eventually become clear. If it's anomalous, it wouldn't be possible to shove these anomalies under the carpet of traditional thinking. However, if it's a comet, it will be clear that it's a comet because it will warm up as it gets closer to the sun and erupt in outgassing and release of dust. So my hope is that by the end of September, we will know, because during October, it will be difficult to observe it, because the sun will be in the way.
Yeah.
It will hide behind the sun at
You
that
know,
time.
it's just the one thing that's interesting to me, just a quick answer on this, if you will. I mean, it's kind of avoiding the one place it's teeming with life in our solar system.
True.
It's odd. Do you have any thoughts about it?
Well, it might have a reason for that. If it releases, for example, mini probes. So I am leading the Galileo project that is monitoring the sky with 3 observatories and looking for any objects that are technological but not human-made in our sky over Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Nevada. And we will continue to do that for the coming years. But I instructed my research team to check if close to the end of October 2025, there would be any new objects appearing in the Earth's atmosphere if we would notice any activity. Now, we are documenting everything with machine learning software that analyzes objects and looks for outliers. And so if in the months after the passage of 3I Atlas close to the sun, if we would see any unusual activity, you will know about it. And of course, if something like that is detected, the stock market may crash. If there is evidence that we encounter alien technology,
yes,
that would be the most significant event in human history.
Stick around, Dr. Loeb. We are going to continue this conversation online. Okay, Dr. Loeb, let's continue for just a minute. I want to pick up with what you just said. Okay, now we're getting into this critical question of, is the world prepared for contact? And I just want to throw something out. I've been a little bit suspicious that suddenly the government is throwing open the books on a lot of this stuff. What they've found, I don't know if it's misdirection, but we're starting to get a lot of chatter that, hey, there is stuff that's happening, we're acknowledging it's happening, and we don't know what it is. Do you think that our government is softening the battlefield to kind of prepare us for the possibility that this could happen?
That would be very interesting. I had a phone call from Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna.
Yes.
A couple of weeks ago, and she wanted an update about 3I Atlas, and she's leading a task force that is aiming to uncover the information that government has about unidentified anomalous phenomena near Earth. And I mentioned to her the possibility of using the Juno spacecraft near Jupiter to probe 3I Atlas when it passes close to Jupiter in the middle of March 2026. And she wrote a letter to the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, who is currently the head of NASA, interim administrator of NASA. And I'm very grateful for her visionary letter encouraging NASA to do as much as they can to observe 3I Atlas, but also closer to home in the atmosphere of Earth. The intelligence agencies are reporting about objects we don't identify, and we need to get to the bottom of it. It's possible that some of these objects are produced by adversarial nations, in which case this is a matter of national security.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if not, it would be the biggest discovery of science ever.
No, that's why I've
with
devoted.
huge implications.
Yes, and this is why I've devoted a fair amount of time on this program to this, because there's no bigger question out there.
Right.
There's
and
no
I
bigger
actually
question.
gave a briefing at the US Congress on May 1st about this subject, and I encouraged actually the government to invest funds in figuring out what these objects are, because what we are doing in the Galileo project that I'm leading is developing a new set of sensors and algorithms of machine learning that could potentially help the Department of Defense find equipment from adversarial nations flying in the sky that we are not aware of. But if we find the extraterrestrial technologies, that would be the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
And I should say also that I'm not motivated by getting a Nobel Prize. I was asked about it. I said no, because if we discover alien technology, I would not waste my time on going to Stockholm for a prize that is given by humans to humans. There is much more to learn about a higher intelligence from interstellar space.
Yeah. Let me ask you, 3I Atlas. Are we going to be able to see this with the naked eye? It appears maybe not.
No, not with the naked eye. You need a telescope that is available to amateur astronomers of the order of half a meter in diameter that was used to discover it when it was 4.5 times farther than the Earth is from the sun. And so in principle, you can watch it, and as it comes closer to the sun, it will be easier to see it because it gets brighter.
Are you concerned with what the reaction would be on Earth if we suddenly were visited? I mean, it's the ultimate question.
Yeah,
Do you?
I think we will have a better understanding of our place in the universe and a better plan for the future after the first encounter. It will surprise us. It will be a wake-up call. I don't expect that the political system or the scientific community will be ready for that before it happens, because you can see right now how people respond to the possibility that 3I Atlas is technological. But after the first visit, I think there will be a lot of attention as to how to plan forward. Maybe employ an array of satellites around the sun so we can alert the Earth for any threat from interstellar space. There would need to be a decision of how to respond under different circumstances. There will be new technologies and new science that need to be developed. So we better invest as a not negligible fraction of the budget that we allocate to military affairs worldwide, which is $2.4 trillion per year.
Yeah.
If we take a fraction of that and invest it in space exploration, we could accomplish a lot in the coming decades.
Dr. Loeb, you're what I would call a free thinker. You're leaving all possibilities open, which is what a good scientist should do. Do you ever think about whether an event like that, if it were to ever happen, would be a galvanizing force for humanity or a dividing force?
Well, I agree with President Reagan, who said that it will unify us, because I think we would realize that we are all in the same boat, the Earth, and we should cooperate for a better future rather than invest a lot of funding to kill each other for territories on this planet that do not matter much. There is much more real estate in interstellar space. And, to avoid catastrophes in the future, I don't think we should necessarily think about going to Mars, because that's just another rock. and actually the conditions there are much worse than on Earth. So why move to a rock that is much worse, like a desert? Temperature changes by hundreds of degrees. Cosmic rays are hitting your body. It's really dangerous to be there.
Yeah, it's a hostile place.
It would be much more sensible to build a space platform that can support humans. And if we invest $1 trillion a year worldwide in that mission, I think within this century we can actually build a space platform to which humans will go.
You put it at a 4 out of 10 right now, that this is some type of alien craft.
Yes. And of course, I will revise it either to 0 or to 10, depending on what data we retrieve in the coming month or so. Because science is a learning experience. We shouldn't assume we know the answer in advance. We shouldn't pretend to be the adults in the room. We should just follow whatever the evidence shows us.
How do your colleagues feel about what you're saying about this? Because you've been pretty outspoken about it. You're advocating for, hey, we don't know what this is. Let's leave our minds open about it.
Yeah. So I think common sense is not common in academia. I mean, there are many reasons for that. One is that academia was politicized towards the far left end of the political spectrum, and it shouldn't have been, because half of the country thinks differently, and you alienate students when you do that. But moreover, the reward system in academia is geared towards impressing your peers, because they serve on funding committees, they also serve on prize committees. So basically that leads to a community of people that try to impress each other instead of keeping their eyes on the ball, which is trying to understand nature. And because of that, innovation is suppressed right now in science. And I was just speaking with a reporter in Denmark, and I was saying, next week I'm going to give a lecture at the Niels Bohr Institute. Niels Bohr was one of the pioneers of quantum mechanics in Copenhagen. And, if you look back at his time, the rate of innovation and discoveries, was an order of magnitude more than we find nowadays, even though there are much more resources invested in science right now and many more practitioners of science. And the reason is the culture that is not encouraging innovation, thinking outside the box. And, I think it would be appropriate for us to change that culture so that we can discover new things about our cosmic neighborhood.
Avi Loeb, Harvard astrophysicist, I really appreciate your time. This was a very interesting conversation. I thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to see you. Avi Loeb, and we'll have some answers in a month or so. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.